What's going on, everybody? It is the Wednesday show. I'm your host at Mike Keeley on Twitter. We got Mike Cristano at Bonzo1273 on Twitter as well, joining me. And this is gonna be an interesting one. We aren't very good, and we didn't win, so we can't give away a mug. Can't even really use the mug emojis. It's like one of those days. Mike, how's it going with you, man? Mike, can you hear
You
me?
talking?
Yeah, can you hear me? For some reason, I was
There
muted.
you are.
For some reason,
What happened to me now on this
some
side?
reason, Zoom randomly muted.
That's funny.
I was asking, like, how are you doing, and have you been able to wash, the sting of that loss off yet?
No, not at all. Not at all.
Yeah, it's
You?
still a little raw.
Yeah.
No, I have not. I've obviously had a lot going on this week. With the dealing with the dog and everything like that. Finishing up work for the holidays. I am actually off. I could be enjoying an eggnog right now. If I had
I'm
eggnog.
off as well.
Nice. Well, the holidays have officially begun for the Mikes, and unfortunately, it's not as happy of a holiday, at least leading into it. But we'll see. We might have a Christmas miracle on our hands. We have, of course, like in perfect Browns fashion, we have to play, the best team in the league, on Christmas Day.
Hey, so that's pretty funny. So I didn't even I didn't even realize we were live. So you were talking, we were muted, and then I
yeah,
jumped
we're
in,
live.
and I'm like, oh, let me put the feed on YouTube, and I'm like, oh man, we're live. Oh, okay.
Yeah, I came at you, from a different angle today.
Yeah, you know what? You kept me on my toes. I dug it, and now that I know we're live, and I mean, I knew after a few seconds there, but I was the cat had my tongue, but yeah, that was that was tough. You could go back to a couple things here and there. Obviously, you got to make kicks. I mean, especially inside the 50-yard line at home into the closed end of the stadium. I mean, there's no, there's no excuse for that.
Well,
I mean,
he did make it once.
The first time. Yeah, the first time. Which I mean, how many times have you seen that where the majority of the time, like a Justin Tucker, for example, if they call the timeout at the last second and he's through his motion, like he'll just pretend he's kicking it, but he's not kicking the ball. But every time you see somebody actually follow through with the motion, even actually, if you go back and look at it, I am almost positive that they already called the timeout before the ball was even snapped, and he still kicked it. And once he made it, I knew that he was going to miss the next one. It's just the law of averages.
Do you remember? I can't remember who it was we played against, but the Greg Williams game where he iced the kicker and he missed it, and he gave him another shot,
yes.
and he made it.
He made it. Yeah, yeah.
That might have cost Greg Williams his job.
Yeah.
Ultimately,
So I mean, you got that going on, and then you had the 3 and out at the end, which, I get it. Chubb's the guy, you give him the ball, but, and I was going to get into this a little bit further down the line, but I mean, if you go back and you look at the games, our run offense has not been stellar and has not been as good as it had previously been. So I get going to Chubb there, but I mean, I think you have a better shot at rolling out in a bootleg. Somebody's going to be open. And if you have to run and you feel like you really need to run in that spot, then again, and I don't know how many times we have to talk about it on this show and the pregame and the postgame show, they are always running into the overloaded side and not audibling out of it. I don't get it. And at that point, And you can't even say, oh, well, the young quarterback or whatever. It's happened with Baker. Now it happened with Nick Mullins. And, you're sitting at home and I'm sitting at home and everybody in the chat is sitting at home. And you could clearly see that they had overloaded that side. And, we didn't know that it was going that way, right? But the coaches do. So call a timeout. Do something. Don't just, to me, that's like waving the white flag, you're surrendering, right? Because the play was not going to work. To ask Treader to do what he had to do, to pull all the ways over to that side, it's not a high percentage play.
I mean, he was blown off the ball in that play too.
Yeah.
I mean, he was mugged.
Yeah. And so, it's not a high percentage play. Run the other way. I was looking at the stats. I believe running to the right behind Hans, they were 4 for -3 yards on the night. Running behind Bitonio, they were
you're one of your 2 Pro Bowl offensive linemen.
Correct. And I can't remember the exact stats there, but it was like 10 carries for 63 yards or something like that. So, were they looking like for the element of surprise? Oh, they're going to run to the, the Bitonio side because they've had success there all night. And let's try and be sneaky and run the other way. I don't think so. If you think that you have the horses to just line up and beat somebody for 3 yards, then you have to make sure that you're doing it behind the guys that are your bread and butter. And I get Tellers over there, but ironically enough, and we'll get to it later, he was the worst ranked lineman the other night. Not to say that was his fault on that play at all. But again, if you looked at the stats, and as we know, analytics run wild, so they knew what the rushing stats look like, to what side, behind who, etc. So, if you're going to do that, you're going to make that call, run it to the side because again, even if you told them that you were running over there, those are your studs on that side, right? That's your Pro Bowlers. And then you got Nick Chubb. So you would expect that those guys would be able to go and, and win off the ball, but it just, it didn't happen. And they lost the game.
Yeah. It is, it's painful, dude. It's, and the fact that, I don't know who said it. Somebody on Twitter, one of the Browns media guys said it. The kid was playing great. The quarterback was playing fine.
Yeah.
And you know what? To be that conservative again, it's all season. How many games have we gone? Have we just clenched our butt cheeks and prayed that Chubb was going to be able to secure the game? Now, maybe once he's done it this year, but now these teams know that they can just stack the box.
Yeah,
That's
like I just like I said to you, and I've been saying it on this show for weeks. When you lost OBJ, and I get it, and I don't want to go revisit it. He was everything that people want to say. We have all those arguments out there. He was a cancer, and he was killing the locker room, et cetera, et cetera.
Yep.
If that's what it is, and people believe and have inside source that's what's going on there, which I had the other side that everybody liked him. It wasn't a power struggle or anything like that. But regardless, the guy's gone. But so the point is what went with him, even though he dropped balls and he pouted every now and again. But you lost to double teams, and those double teams help in the run game. He was an excellent run blocker. And you lose the double team, or you lose the ability to have guys one-on-one, because quite frankly, who is on the field right now that you think that a defensive coordinator has to double cover? And I don't see anybody that they need to double cover. So once we lost that aspect, I think, And we had the Cincinnati game and they ran wild, and I think that was just adrenaline coming off of that whole situation, and they wanted to prove a point. But since then, I mean, maybe they had a decent rushing game against the woeful Lions. Whatever, they're not as woeful, but I mean, you haven't seen any type of run dominance in a while. And sometimes, Nick Mullins was the 4th ranked PFF quarterback this week. So the kid did a good job, right? So I don't know. I personally thought that he was playing really, really well down the stretch in that 4th quarter. He was decisive. His throws were nice.
Mm-hmm.
And why not roll him out on the edge? Somebody had to be open. I guarantee it. If
Yeah.
they would have rolled out and ran a boot, he would have found somebody, or he would have gave himself a chance to pick it up himself. But I mean, at least you have it. I don't know. For me, and really why and again, Monday morning quarterbacking and all that stuff. But me personally, I would have went to the pass there, because you've got several options that possibly could occur, as opposed to hike ball, handball off. You're either going to get tackled or you're going to make the first down. Whereas if you're rolling out, there's several things that could happen. One guy could be open, 2 guys could be open, maybe 3 guys could be open, maybe nobody could be open, and then you try and run for the first down. So whereas, that quick hitter was, you were in, you were out, and we knew that at that point we were dead in the water.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I mean, I think that. Let me ask you this:
Yeah.
Did we fail OBJ, or did not we, like the fans, but did Stefanski and the coaching staff, from a scheming perspective, not being able to design plays that featured him enough? Or was it Baker? I think primarily. Let's just say this, because I think it's a combination of the two. But who would you place more blame on, the scheming or the quarterback?
I mean, if you and throw away last night, because last night was a weird game, and I think OBJ was like 1 for 7 reception wise on 3 or 4 targets. But
Mm-hmm.
but if you throw that game away, and you look at the past few games, once he got the playbook under his belt, and they were playing him more. I mean, Sean McVay was playing to his strengths, right? You saw some quick hitting slants, and you saw a couple of fade patterns in the end zone, and you've seen him go up and get the ball and score touchdowns. So, I think, did they play to his strengths? No, I don't think so at all. I haven't seen somebody play to his strengths, as funny as this is going to sound, since Freddie Kitchens in New York against the Jets. That was the last time I saw like an actual game plan playing to the strengths of OBJ. So yeah,
Wow.
I don't think so. And then, to what you just said, and brings up another interesting point,
Mm-hmm.
is the fact that it doesn't even matter whether it's Van Pelt calling the plays or it's Stefanski calling the plays. They're joined at the hip. The offense is what the offense is, and it lacks any type of creativity in the passing game. And quite honestly, and you and I have talked about this, I mean, the run game lacks, anything to be desired at this point as well. Because if you look at it, they line up 2 tight ends, 1 on each side, and continuously they keep running to the strong side. I don't know why. I don't know why they can't reverse the play. I know 2 plays are called, can, rewind, and those are the 2 you go with. So
Yeah.
I don't know why, in the golden era of football, and even Tom Brady does it. You see him call an audible, and you see him smack, the other side of his ass, and he just turned the play around, right? So we just don't see that. So
Yeah.
it is what it is.
Real quick, Evan Chase, Derek Jones, Ryan Burlow, Ray, uh, Derek, or Dre2K. Everybody in the house, thank you guys for being here. um, Well, let me ask you this then, because it kind of brings up another point
Yeah.
along the line. Let me paint this scenario for you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And I'm not gonna say one particular player or not,
Mm-hmm.
but if we're gonna run this offense the way we're gonna run, we're gonna be run heavy. We want to run the ball, and we want to run the ball a lot, right? But we don't have a hyper mobile quarterback. Would it be good if this is going to be the offense that we land on, where it's
Yeah.
not a Tom Brady, we don't have a 6'5" quarterback who's going to sit in the pocket and deliver and dink and dunk them and then throw over the top like your Aaron Rodgers, like your Tom Brady, like your Drew Brees used to do, right? Like your Peyton Manning used to do. We're not going to have that type of offense that's going to be driven, live or die by the quarterback. We're going to live and die by Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt and Dearness Johnson and our amazing offensive line. Do we go out and look for a mobile quarterback to complement this offense and turn it into like what the Ravens do?
Well, I mean, I think it was Albert Breer today that sent everything into a tizzy, basically saying that he believed that, or believes, I should say, that Deshaun Watson will be in play if available for the Browns. He did say he didn't know, how far along that they would take that to, if they would take it all the way to the house and be the people that they're the team, I should say, that signs him. But I mean, if you look at what the team stands for, front office, coaching staff, it's smart, tough, and accountable. And if you ask me, that's not him. He doesn't fit that bill to me. From what I've seen for that mold to be, from this front office and the coaching staff. So I just don't see something like that. But to your point, but I think that Baker could be mobile enough when healthy to make it work. I just don't know. To be quite honest with you, I'm going to have to see a solid number one receiver. And I think that comes through the draft. I don't think anybody's coming, that in free agency, that's, is that legit?
I mean, we spent the money on big wide receivers and they didn't do it. Other than
Yeah.
I would say Jarvis was worth every penny, but
Yeah, but
right, to your point, correct.
yeah. No. I agree. And all I was going to say was they need a strong receiver that has got great hands, runs great routes,
Mm-hmm.
and has a couple gears. And I think that you could find that all across the first round this year. So I guess my point being is if Baker's still the guy next year and they go out and they get a kid like that, and you see it all around now. I mean, you're able to draft these kids now and they're plug and play. You look at Devonta Smith, you look at Jalen Waddle. I'm sure I'm missing some guys.
Chase.
Jamar Chase. There's a big one I missed. So these guys are plug and play, and there's enough of them in the first round that we can totally get that type of player. So then, if we're still looking at the same vanilla passing game with a stud like that, then you start saying to yourself, okay, well, maybe this is why, Stephon Diggs wanted to get out of there, right? Because it's not a very pass friendly, wide receiver friendly kind of offense. So I don't know. I mean, it's been pretty vanilla. You look, and Stefanski was out. Van Pelt comes in. Everybody cried for, a new play caller. And it was just more of the same. And I got to tell you, I almost wonder, because I think Stefanski at least is ballsy. I don't know if he runs Chubb 3 straight times there. I think he rolls the dice and he passes there, knowing that. I mean, that was the season, really. I mean, you look at, and I got notes here. You look at this week, the Steelers. They were going to play Kansas City. before yesterday or the day before, you looked at that, and that's not even on your radar of wins for the Steelers. Now all of a sudden, you got no Tyreek Hill, you got no Travis Kelce. They're in protocol. You've got no Harrison Butker. He's in protocol. And there's a couple other guys that they have in protocol. So now all of a sudden, Kansas City looks beatable this weekend, right? So this game really was. I mean, you essentially have to go to Green Bay, probably with no Clowney, with a hurt Miles if he does play. He's nursing the groin. They said they're going to monitor it. You've got
Miles is going to play.
Yeah, again. So yeah, but and maybe a 3/4 mile, right? Miles,
Yeah.
or a little less than that.
Yeah.
And now you're down Greg Newsome. He's in protocol. He's not coming back. Like I said, Clowney's probably not going to clear. So now you're going to get into a gunfight with a knife, because it's going to be tough sledding defensively, keeping up with Rodgers, especially if Miles is nursing him, that groin pretty bad, and you've got Tax gone. So and if Clowney doesn't clear, which I can't imagine he does, you've got Porter Gustin out there, and now you're expecting then your offense to trade touchdowns in Green Bay, in an offense that we've seen can't score more than 17 points a game, right?
Yeah.
So how, I want to be a homer and I want to sit here and say it's going to be a Christmas miracle, and I really want to, and I've been thinking about this all day, but I don't see the path. I really don't. They could surprise us, there's no doubt, but I just don't see how it happens. And no Kareem Hunt, and when you only have one back there and not the two, again, that diminishes what we're seeing out of the backfield. So I don't know. I think that you had to win the Raiders. You can just chalk up the Green Bay game, and then you go and you smack the Steelers and the Bengals in the mouth, and you're on your way. But even Lamar doesn't look like he's going to play. It doesn't matter. I mean, that Huntley kid looked really, really good. So
he did.
Yeah. So I don't know. Your thoughts on it?
I think this. I think, going back to the root of what we were talking about, I think this. I don't know. I mean, I feel like Baker would be best suited in an offense that was like a Sean Payton type offense. He just seems like he's that guy, who's just going to sit there, and they are going to throw a ton, and they're going to let him go out and rip it. And then they're going to have smart screen passes and a lot of dump offs to running backs and a lot of like short slants. And I think if you really think about it, going back to Freddie, going back to even the well, definitely with Todd Monken and Freddie, and then even to a certain degree in the Stefanski era, there's a lot of what they're dialing up for Baker is it takes a long time to develop, and it's tough. And when you have Baker and you allow him to hit his third step or his fifth step and fire, he's good. He does have elite ball placement. He does have elite arm strength. He has it. It's undeniable.
I agree. And to your point, I could totally see. I mean, think about what this offense could be if it was, as you described, like a Sean Payton offense where, you're running the ball, but you're hitting some quick slants, you're throwing some screen plays, taking deep shots. I mean, if you could get a mixed bag of all of that with his accuracy, and he's mobile enough, like you and I have talked about, to be able to get on the edge and set it and then pick people apart.
Yeah.
It would be perfect. And I think you might have said it weeks ago that, there could be a scenario where we move on and he winds up going to like in New Orleans, and he's like Drew Brees part 2.
Yeah.
So,
and that's the thing. It's like if we decide to move off of Baker and we say, you know what, it's not working and we want to do this, I mean, how we're not going to have peak. I think we have seen peak Jarvis Landry already.
Yeah, I think so.
I think 2 years ago we saw, the Freddie year with, no, I would say Baker's rookie year was probably the peak of Jarvis.
You were getting Miami Jarvis, yep.
Yeah, you got that for that first Baker year. And then it has been progressively downhill from there. I do think he's still a good player. I still think he can be very productive, but he's not Miami Jarvis catching, 100 balls. He's not that guy.
No.
So when it comes to weapons that you at one point you did have to respect him and you did have to really watch him. You still do to a degree because he can beat you, but I mean he's fragile and he's older.
I think, and you tell me what you think, but I really feel, well, I can't see how they don't go receiver in the first round, and they're going to get a stud there. So I can totally, for me, see a scenario where they say to Jarvis, hey, look, you're owed 15 million or whatever it is, something astronomical. I can't remember the exact number, but we love what you bring. We love what you are. And, we really want you here to mentor, these young guys, DPJ and whoever the new kid is. Would you be willing to take a reduction in pay to stay here and what? And
if he does that, he's going to ask for more than he's going to ask for an extension.
Yeah, but I could
with
see
a lot of guaranteed money on that.
Yeah, we'll see. But I can see a scenario like that, having now gotten rid of OBJ's salary. I don't get me wrong. I mean, it's a lot of money that he would be owed, and he's not worth that much money.
The hit. I'm looking at his contract right now. It's 14.3. Next year is 14.3, and the cap hit is 16.5. But the dead cap is only 1.5. This year, the dead cap would have been 15.5. So
okay,
so it's not. I mean, this is
too bad.
It's almost like designed to peak this year, and then go, hey, because the dead cap is the thing that matters.
Yeah.
Is to go, hey man, let's see if we can work something out because we're not giving you 14 million, and you ain't getting 14 million on the open market either. For 30-year-old Jarvis Landry, who's been banged up. So I could see that. I could almost see the Browns pulling a Muhammad Massaquoi, Brian Rubisky, and going bang bang, in the draft, and just really coming out strong, with.
And if you go back and look at some of those draft, like the Chris Coleman year, and just atrocious. Some of the guys that were on the board. I mean, especially the Gilbert year.
Coco Gilbert.
Yeah, what they take him 7 or 6 or I don't know.
Mike Pettin thought he was the steal of the century at 6.
Yeah, as if he was the only smart one around that had that dude that high on the board.
He did have one interception, and I think he did return it for a touchdown. Gilbert. I really do think he had one INT that he took to the house. And Joe Hayden was the most excited guy in the world when that happened. Because he was like, look, now I got a partner in crime. I got somebody out here. And the bottom line too, here's another sad thing. A guy like Joe Hayden, who had been injured, yet he had enough tread on the tire that the Steelers said, we'll do it. We think he's good enough. And then he just keeps playing and producing. It's insane. Like he's not as atrocious as an example of like Drew Brees going to the Saints and then winning a Super Bowl. But I mean, the bottom line is we had to then, it was a classic case of, hey, we have to make a decision to move on. He's not on the field enough, and we gotta reallocate these funds to somebody who's going to be able to stay on the field. We eventually got Denzel Ward to kind of fill that role, and Denzel's whenever Denzel's been on the field, he's been pretty damn good.
Yeah.
But I think the bottom line here is, we don't have elite weapons at the wide receiver position right now. We don't.
No.
We don't have elite weapons at the tight end position. I consider the elite tight ends to be Kittle, Mark Andrews, and Kelsey.
Yeah.
Those are the guys. Those are like, honestly, they borderline. Kelsey 100%. He's a Hall of Famer. Kelsey might be the best tight end in NFL history.
Yeah.
I mean, from a receiving standpoint.
I mean, you could even go out on a limb. And I mean, obviously he's probably one of the best to ever do it, but he's just a little bit older. But I would take him over what we've got right now is like Rob Gronkowski. Like you could throw him in the mix and like he would be an elite talent for Baker to throw to.
Gronk, yeah. I mean, I think he's kind of a special scenario though, because I think he only really came back because Tom called him and said,
"Oh yeah, absolutely."
Back. But you're right. I mean, it's a good point. Like Gronk is absolutely up there, in the top 5, right? Whether his numbers are saying that or not, he's top 5.
Oh yeah.
But God, I mean, Mark Andrews won me my fantasy game this week.
Yeah.
Mark Andrews, my kicker, my defense, won me my damn game.
Yeah, and for me, I mean, Hurts had a great game, but Kelsey gave me 41. So I mean, these guys are. I mean, if you look at the touchdowns Kelsey had the other night, I mean, for a big guy like him, I don't know if you saw that second touchdown. I mean, he caught the ball, stopped and started, and just left people in the dust. It's elite. And we thought that Njoku was going to be like that, but I mean, I still think all of our tight ends are good. I don't think Austin Hooper was worth any of the money that we gave him. I mean, he's solid in the run blocking game, but as far as what we thought he was going to be from a playmaking standpoint, has been a far cry, and the drops have been costly and at bad times. So yeah, I mean, to your point, when you look around, there's nobody in a pass catching role on our team that you could label a stud right now. Not a one.
No, not a stud. No, I mean, we don't have like a Jamar Chase.
No.
And I mean, he's rookie.
We don't even have a Van Jefferson on this team.
No.
Right?
No, you don't. I mean, there's nobody out there that I would say is a legitimate, and that's what the defensive coordinators are sitting there looking at. They go, okay, how are we going to lose this game? We're going to lose this game to Nick Chubb, to Ernest Johnson, and that's it. So if Baker's going to go out there and prove the world wrong, and after a while, you have the stats. Baker's not going to go off for 5 touchdowns. He's not going to throw 50 times and go off for 5 touchdowns. We do not have an offense that's even designed to allow him to do that, even if he had the physical ability to do it, right?
Yep. And like you said the other night when we were talking about, or maybe I said it, I don't know, one of us said it, but you look at Austin Schwartz. Yeah, it was you that we were wrong, and he was a 3rd round pick.
Mm-hmm.
And this kid is supposed to be lights out, speed demon, blow the top off the back end of the defense. And except for the Kansas City game, I mean, he's been non-existent. I know he had the concussion, etc., but I mean, he was out there on Monday night. We didn't even give one deep look to him. I mean, if he has the speed that they say he does, and I don't deny it. I mean, I've seen the 40 time. Would it kill us to throw a double move on somebody just once? I mean, it's been a while. It's been a while. So
That's a really, it's the frustrating thing. It's like we have things that go right, and then we don't use them ever again.
yeah,
And like it could be the case that these guys are trying to outsmart everyone so much instead of just going, oh, that worked, cool, let's do that again.
yeah.
Obviously, if a play works, it was either by accident or you executed and you found a weakness and you exploited the weakness. It's like we don't do it again. But I'll tell you, this year has been just a one disappointment after another. Like
Oh yeah.
none of the razzle dazzle plays that Stefanski had been dialing up, none of them worked this year. Not one. And some of them, like the Jarvis fumble, were disasters. Like we lost games because of that, right? Whereas Stefanski's first year, he would dial up a razzle dazzle play. It seemed like one every game that they would practice and drill in, and they had it down, and it just worked. And we're not seeing that this year. But ultimately, if we think back to this last game that we just watched, it was an abysmal failure from the special teams unit. We lost the kicking game. I think we lost. I know the Scottish Hammer. We had to say goodbye to him today.
And it was time.
It was time, but I don't know if Colquitt had a couple that like 30-yard punts. Okay, 30-yard punts in the NFL is like one play potentially.
Yeah, the only thing that, because if you look at the averages, the Hammer and him were pretty similar. I think, and we saw it the past couple of games that Colquitt was in. It's just Colquitt has he is a legit punter, and he has a directional game where
the
Hammer just did not, and it cost us a lot.
The Hammer was just about hang time, and that was all he could do, blasting him in hang time, and
which is great, but when you need the coffin corner or at least attempt to kick one away from somebody and let it bounce. Yeah, he was not.
And I think that was the consistency that we were looking for. But I wouldn't say necessarily that Colquitt was a huge problem in the game. But the field goal team failed because you miss your kick. The return game, they faked a punt, and we didn't stop them.
6 of his last 11, Mike, is that what it is?
Yeah, I mean that I honestly don't know how you can roll that guy back out.
And Stefanski was confident. Chase is our kicker.
At some point, though, with kickers, you have to. If you're not making kicks consistently, it's like something's. It's a mental exercise, kicking.
Yeah.
And at some point, you're sitting there going, I've missed 5 of my last 11. I missed, and the whole pressure of the world. It's not just the pressure of the moment. It's the pressure of like the game and the team and the fans and everything on you. At some point, like the guy like that's going to buckle, and that might be what's causing the problem, right? And then you've got, but the bottom line, let's say this, if we talked about this in the post-game show. Let's say for some miracle, we make the playoffs. Last year, McLaughlin going into the playoffs was automatic. This year, heading into the playoffs, he shouldn't even be a professional kicker. Imagine if we had that same, we talked about this in the post-game. Imagine if that Carlson kick was ours to win it. Win or lose, you got one kick, right? Win or lose. They iced him. He made it. They kick it again. He made it again. Bro, there are, and I tweeted this out. I'm like, field goals in the NFL matter. We cannot make them, and our opponents always can. And that tweet blew up. Like, it was a simple tweet. It was just like, what was on my mind at that time? That tweet blew up. And the amount of people that were like, yep, that's it. Now, we didn't play a perfect game. We had things go wrong. We again, scheming was a problem. And we have no, like, we do not blitz the quarterback. And when we do, we're so bad at it because we don't practice it that no team is out there scared of us. The team's got to look at, I'm not going to get pressure at all. Playing the Browns. Oh yeah, they have Myles Garrett, but we can neutralize him pretty easily. You just put a running back on him and he's done. And it happened. He was completely ineffective and completely neutralized in that game.
Yeah.
Right? So
and
that's it.
Yeah. And the only thing I could think of from a kicking standpoint, and if this is the thought process, then okay, I can live with it, and we'll move on. But my only thought is they've seen that he's got the strong leg, right? He made that 57-yarder with some room to spare. And he's made some important kicks that you just alluded to last year. And he started the season off pretty good. I mean,
Yep.
if you
He's 9 for 9.
If you look at his stats, he was 1 for 1 against the Texans. He was 4 for 4 against the Bears, 2 for 2 against the Vikings, 2 for 2 against the Chargers, 1 for 2 against the Broncos. He had 1 against the Steelers and made it. He was 2 for 3 against the Bengals, missed 1 against the Lions, was 1 of 2 against the Ravens, was 1 of 2 against the Ravens the second time, and then, obviously missed the one the other night. So if you look up until, and he had no attempts in the Patriot game, up until the past 4 games, he hasn't been atrocious, right? He hasn't been automatic, but he's made 2 or 3. If he's had 1 attempt, he's made it. If he had 2, he had 1 or 2. So I could understand the thought process, and my feeling on it is I think that they like the kid. I think they feel like he could be the guy, and that's why they're sticking with him and trying to fight through it and continue to try and develop him. And maybe it's the kind of thing like Jake Elliott with the Eagles. I mean, he was rough at first, and they had to deal with some misses, and they stuck with him. And Jake Elliott's pretty automatic right now at this point in his career for the Eagles. So that's the only thing I could think of is they're trying to, it's been a revolving door. He's shown promise, had a great start, played well last year down the stretch, and they're giving him the benefit of the doubt. And he's got a few weeks to get out of the funk. And if he does get out of the funk, then he further proves to them that, hey, he was in a little funk, but he got his head right and he's capable of it. And we'll bring in some competition, but he's probably going to be our guy. But
I mean, going back to the Deshaun Watson thing for a second.
Yeah.
Because it's funny, we've talked about this off and on the Wednesday show pretty much all season,
Yeah.
And really quick before we do that, AW is in the house. Who else we got here? Browns fan 1977 is here. Cleveland BCI is in the house. Ryan Burlow is here. DBO. And it looks like it. So everybody else who's joined the party, thank you for guys for being here. Going back to the Deshaun Watson for a second. Okay, I want to make this very very clear to everybody. I think what he did, or what he's been accused of doing, is really really not good stuff, guys. It's not good.
Definitely not smart, tough, and accountable.
Definitely not. It is not. But I will tell you this. You got to look at this. Mike, you have 2 daughters.
Yeah.
I have 2 daughters. Your daughters are a little older. You're college age, right? Okay. So
Yep.
they're technically adults at this point.
I don't know how it happened, but yep, they are.
They made it. They're officially out of the womb. Okay.
For sure.
If one of your daughters called you and said, "Dad, this famous guy with millions of followers. I don't know who he is, but he seems to be like a football player or something. Is going to fly me out to privately perform massage therapy on him. Let's just say your daughter's licensed.
Right.
Okay. What is your immediate reaction to that?
Yeah, I don't think so. Or
Right?
dad's going to chaperone you.
Yeah. Well, the first thing I'd be like, who's this? And I look it up and I go, huh? Huh? Then I'd be like, send me the messages. I want to see what he's saying to you. Right? Okay. So like, let's just say this. Okay. I'm not saying what he did was right. But
I'm still waiting for, like, when are we going to get, and I haven't followed it. I don't know if you have, but like, when are we going to get to a completion on this thing? Like, are we going to court? Are we not going to court? Or are we settling? Are we not settling? And the only thing I know about the whole thing is that, and correct me if I'm missing something, but it just seems that he has a fetish, for the lack of another way of explaining it, of going to get massages and looking for some type of happy ending, if you will, while these massages are going on.
Robert, aka Robert Kraft.
Yeah. So it's nothing, and believe you me, everybody that's listening, when I say it's nothing more than that, I mean, that's bad enough, but just from a standpoint of, the legal aspect of it, that's pretty much what he's been accused of, right?
Yes, and here's
Like, there hasn't been any, like, he hasn't tried to force on anything on anybody, right? It's just, he goes for these massages and he's looking for, a little Larry David action.
well, here's the thing though. Like, I think it's really, there is a pretty big staunch difference between what Robert Kraft did and what Deshaun Watson did. Robert Kraft went pro. He went pro, and and he, like, it was. I mean, it essentially was just it was a professional transaction that occurred, right? I don't think, from knowing that, like, reading about what happened there, like, that was obviously not a forced situation, right?
Right.
With Deshaun Watson, it was, in the let's say at worst, it was forced. At worst, from a standpoint of, like, she's in there, he's completely disrobed, which is, and then he's like, "Come on, let's go,"
right.
which there's a difference there, right? But on the flip side of it, no pun intended, I think that there's got to be a little bit of accountability, and I'm not victim shaming here. I'm just saying, how do you not look at that scenario? Like, I'm a dad of two daughters. You're a dad of two daughters. My daughters are younger, but I'll tell you this: if at any point they're like, "Hey, this guy's gonna fly me out, either commercially or privately, I don't know, doesn't really matter, flying me to his home, where I'm gonna massage this guy, and there's no other, expectations there."
And at that point, if we're being real,
I think we're being real.
Then you would have to look at your kid at that point and say, "Hey, I'm not trying to, belittle or anything like that, but, like, let's look at the situation here for a second. He doesn't have, like, a brain tumor, and you are, like, the top brain surgeon in the state of Delaware, right? That he needs your expertise, that he needs to fly you in,
Yeah, your magic hands,
for that, right? He's essentially looking to fly in a massage therapist, and no offense, but there's a million like you that can massage as good as the next person, but the only difference is look in the mirror, right? So you're
I
a
mean,
pretty girl, and he doesn't just want to fly you cross country because he heard through the grapevine that you give a great calf massage,
yeah.
right? So that's really the long and the short of it. Like, nobody should be flying in masseuses from different, areas that they met on social
But
media.
here's the crazy thing, Mike. Like, there's so many crazy things about this. Number one, I mean, obviously, let's just say, let's go completely on the, just everything was above board, and he was,
Yep.
if let's start there. Let's say he was doing it for therapeutic reasons only. He is an NFL quarterback and the heart and soul of an NFL team that would pay whatever you want for literally the top therapists in the world to actually perform the therapy. That's number one. Number two, I mean, look, guys, like, the world of guys looking for extra like, he's not married.
No, he's a single dude.
He's not married. Like, fly the girls out and let's make it like, hey, I'm gonna fly you out. We're gonna have a good time for a weekend, and let's just see where the chips fall. Right? I mean,
No, but and I mean, he was literally, I mean, girls that's their job and they take it serious. And so in a way, what he was asking for is sort of disrespecting your craft. No pun intended, because of Robert. But yeah, but you know what? Let's throw all this out, right? Let's pretend none of this even matters. And he never did any of this stuff.
yeah. Are you saying like it literally never happened, or it's
Yeah,
not going to be, he's legally not going to be held responsible?
Yeah, let's just say that
literally
they went
never
through everything.
Okay. So there's no recourse. Okay, he's clear.
No,
he's clear.
He's cleared. Nothing. Let's say
Not proven innocent, but not enough to convict.
Right. And so, teams are looking at it like, all right, the guy's kind of weird, and he's looking for strange things. But at the end of the day, there was, they found that, he didn't force himself on anybody, etc.
He paid him off.
Yeah,
he did the right thing.
Right. Good to go. But
maybe apologized any confusion that it may have created.
And then that was over. Right.
Move on.
So now we've moved on, and we've moved on to the point that the marriage in Houston is severed. It's over. It's over. He's got to go. So, which obviously I think either way that is going to be the situation. So he's got a no trade clause. So I can't even imagine.
That's true.
I can't even imagine that he would look at what's going on in Cleveland in terms of the way the offense runs, etc., and say, that's where I
want a piece of that.
I want to be. I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think. Now, if you had the star factor and like an OBJ was still there, because all us fans and media types, you can look at OBJ stats and say the guy's been underachieving. He's not, he's not, he's a shell of his former self, etc. But around the league and the actual guys that play the game, they don't think that way. They feel that he is still a piece. So that might have been something that would be very enticing to Deshaun. But again, if you look at Deshaun Watson, I mean, they like in that offense, they like to go deep, right? How many times did you see him throwing deep shots to Hopkins or some quick slants to Hopkins or the other kid that's really good that they have that his name is slipping my mind. He was injured for a little while, but anyway, regardless, you just don't find that here, right? I mean, it's under Stefanski and this offensive scheme. We are a run first team, and that's how it's going to be for a while. And the passing portion is just an end to a means. So I think they could kick the tires all they want if that report is true or it's not true, but I don't see him coming here, and I think that Baker's still going to remain the guy. I really do. I just don't see the other options. You can't, and you and I talked. I like Kenny Pickett coming out of Pitt, but you just, I don't think at this point. You look at Aaron Rodgers, right? He's the Rolls Royce of quarterbacks. You look at Lamar Jackson. I don't think Lamar Jackson is a Rolls Royce. He's got a niche that he has, and he's more of like that lower end Ferrari, right? Not the real, top dollar one, but he's more of a low end Ferrari. And Kyle Murray is the same way. And I think Baker falls into, the middle of the road guy that can show you flashes of brilliance, but at the same time, he's not going to crush your franchise. He's going to keep you still winning, right? He took you to the playoffs last year. I mean, we talk about the circumstances that we were under last year, but he's a guy that has proved he could take you to the playoffs, and he could be like an Alex Smith type of guy, or I don't want to get you too excited right now. All right.
Are you gonna say it?
But I'm gonna say it, and you know what I'm gonna say, and that's why you're smiling already.
Are we going there?
Your good friend Jared Goff, Baker could be that, right? Because you can't. I don't think at this point that you can. I mean, the Rams are a really good example of that. I mean, they had Goff, and they knew he wasn't the answer, but they also knew that they couldn't just blow that up because you still got to get pieces around. And then they were able to snag that veteran and Matthew Stafford and bring him over. But I guess my long-winded thing here with Baker is, what are you going to do? Are you can't then just, so let's say they say, you know what, we want to draft a rookie quarterback. Okay, fine. The offensive line is solid. They could handle it. The run game could handle it. You bring the kid in, and who's he throwing to? The same cats that we're throwing to right now. So now, like we've done for years and years and years, instead of being able to draft the pieces that you need, now you're going backwards. So that's why I think that no matter what, Baker will be the guy next year. They'll go out, they'll get a couple of kids that are really good from a receiver standpoint, and then we'll roll it back. We'll re-sign some guys. Hopefully Clowney will go out and we'll get a couple of guys in free agency, maybe an Allen Robinson type. I don't know if he would want to come here, but I just don't think that, and you could tell me your thoughts, but I just don't think that you can move on from him, go and draft somebody early anyway. You know what I mean? Everybody can, the Bill Belichick way, drafting quarterback after quarterback in the later rounds. But I don't think that you can move from him. You're gonna stay the course, and you're gonna try and get some better talent around him, and then you go from there. But I just don't think you can just jettison him and then hope that you're going to find somebody in the draft, or you're going to find somebody in free agency.
Mm-hmm.
You know who I'm talking about. That's my thought process on it. I don't think that you're rolling back what we saw this year with some tweaks.
I think if we make a decision, and I'm gonna continue down the Deshaun Watson for a second. Okay, I'm not. But Chubba Wubba Hub, what's going on, man? I think this. A couple things.
Yeah.
If we were to make the decision to go after Deshaun Watson and he were to entertain it because we got an Allen Robinson and or we drafted a really, really stud wide receiver. Like, I mean, sometimes when it comes down to the combine, these guys go nuts, like DK Metcalf or something like that, where you're like, oh my god, like look at this, right? And so who knows what's going to happen in the
Yeah.
combine and what's going to be there available for us? Because I mean, we're an average team, so we're going to be drafting, towards the middle to the back end, maybe even close to the 20s, right?
I think right now we would be 15 if I'm correct.
Yeah. So I mean that you're gonna get a really good chance at a top wide receiver in 15. Right?
Oh yeah, and there's so many of them. I mean, you got both kids from Ohio State. That kid from Penn State's good. You got the kid out west. You got the kid down at Arkansas. I mean,
there's talent, right? This is a really good one. If you need wide receivers, this is a good one to have.
You could get. I mean, to your point, I mean, you could get two because there's not going to be enough teams drafting wide receivers in the first round that they're all going to go. So
Sure.
you literally could get, a grade A talent not only in the first round, but also in the second round. You might have to trade up a little bit.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Maybe they do that. Maybe they go if we have 15 and we draft 15 in the second round. Let's say we bundle a second and a fourth and we move back up to the first. Late for
possible.
Late. So let's say that would be very surprising if we had took two wide receivers and
yeah, no.
Pulled,
I think they'll go receiver and defense probably.
Yeah, but if they went, let's say they went defense because somebody slipped, and you're like, oh my god, I can't believe that guy slipped.
Yeah.
And then 25, 26 is up, and like Chris Olave is still there.
Yeah.
And you're like, wait, what? Like, look at like JOK was. Like, do you make a move aggressively to do that? So let's just say that the Browns address the wide receiver talent in some capacity, whether it's free agent or the draft, or the draft, right?
Yep.
And a guy and the rest of the league is souring on a guy like Deshaun because they're like us and like, I just don't know if it's right. But the Browns say, you know what? We wanna leave no stone unturned, and because we have to address the quarterback position. If we were to do that, I think it would come with especially to Houston. You could be looking at a Baker trade to Houston. So he's part of the package to go home to Texas, right? And rebuild that franchise. And then we swap into Deshaun Watson and we're off and running. Now, the other thing I would say, and for everybody who's like, no, I don't want that guy, he's creepy. They said all the same stuff about Michael Vick. They said all the same stuff. He'll never play again. He went to jail for 2 years. He sat in a prison cell for 2 years. And he came back and was better than he ever was in Atlanta for Philadelphia. And then he came back again and was in the Steelers and was effective there as a backup guy. Okay. So look, guys, the bottom line is people have the ability to forgive and forget and give people second chances. And let's just say that he didn't know what he was doing and how it was affecting these people. And it was the wrong thing to do. And he apologizes for it. And he does all that stuff. Like, does the right stuff. He didn't, it's not like what Ben Roethlisberger did. Because none of these girls are accusing Deshaun of the R word. From what I'm hearing, none of them are accusing him of actually forcing himself on and forcing himself onto them. Right? Ben Roethlisberger had 2 credible women with eyewitnesses. 2 that he paid off to go away. And there are other stories about other things that he's done as well. And he's celebrated.
Yeah, no, I just don't know if I just can't see Deshaun Watson's game in Cleveland. Just me. I don't know. I just don't see it. Like I think if you move on from Baker, I think you need to, the next guy that comes in has to be a Roethlisberger size type guy, a Josh Allen size type, just a guy that could hand the ball off, but can be a statue in the pocket and just read and react and find the open guys and just pick you apart, I think.
Yeah. Well, I think one of two things are going to happen, and I think it's probably more likely that we roll with Baker in 2022. We give him his last year, and if he lights it up and he turns into the guy we thought he was going to be his rookie year, and he actually takes a massive step forward, then we pay him, and we pay him at the ass. And if he doesn't, then you're going to have a lot of guys out there that are going to be available. Kirk Cousins is going to be an unrestricted free agent in 2023. He had success with Stefanski. He's a guy that he knows. I mean, Case Keenum's a guy that Stefanski knows as well. So Stefanski likes his guys.
I mean, if you look at, to your point, I know you always bring him up and you like him. Like if you took and I'm not saying that this is what we're going to do or et cetera, but if you took a Kirk Cousins, right? I mean, we just talked about it all night. I mean, you pretty much hand the ball off in this offense, and then every now and again you throw a play action pass. So I mean, Kirk Cousins can sit back there and do that all day long, right?
All day. I mean, and then you have another thing like Tyler Huntley out there, who I don't know what his actually. Let's look it up. Tyler Huntley. Tyler Huntley is I believe it's a ERFA. I don't know what ERFA.
He was on their practice squad. He bounced around a couple of times, and then he came back, and then they activated him. But he's another guy. I mean, he looks really good. But once there's tape out on him, I'm sure that.
Oh yeah, but it's like if you're going to have a team that commits to the run, and then you have a quarterback who doesn't have elite speed, like Lamar Jackson in our offense would be phenomenal.
Well, let me ask you this, because now you put me down a rabbit hole. Minnesota Vikings, right? Run the same offense that Stefanski runs, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like the same exact offense. It is the offense. And let me read a few things off to you. All right. December 5th against the Lions. 75% completion percentage, 340 yards in the air, 2 touchdowns, and 116.7 quarterback rating. 49ers, November 28th. 62.5 completion percentage, 238, 2 touchdowns, and a pick, 93 rating. November 21st versus the Packers. 68.6 completion percentage, 341 yards in the air, 3 touchdowns. The week before that, 294 and 2 touchdowns through the air. Back against the Panthers on October 17th, 373 through the air, 3 touchdowns. September 26th against the Seahawks, 323 in the air, 3 touchdowns. And September 12th against the Bengals, 351 yards through the air and 2 touchdowns. And now, might I remind you that at the same time, and I'm not going to pull those stats up, Dalvin Cook is eating at the same time as well, right?
Okay.
100-yard games. So those are Kirk Cousins stats. So if we compare apples to apples, right, then it tells you can throw for a lot of yards and a lot of touchdowns within this offense and run the ball solid like Dalvin Cook. So then that tells you, well, what are we missing? Right? What are we missing? So next year, you have to believe then that Baker is healthy. You've got Chubb and Hunt again. And you go out, like you just talked about, I just talked about, and get a couple of stud receivers, or I mean, you're going to definitely get one in the first round. You bring somebody in, maybe you get Jarvis back on a cheaper contract. Then you run it back, and now you've got weapons, and you're healthy, and God willing, everybody else stays healthy around you. And then you see what the offense looks like, and then if it's the same BS that we're seeing, then now you got to start asking questions like, is Stefanski just not that elite play caller like we thought he was? Is Baker just not the guy? And somebody else like a Kirk Cousins that's throwing for 300 yards a game and has Dalvin Cook running wild? Is it the quarterback? You know what I mean? So there's a lot of variables, but when you look at Kirk Cousins, I mean, in that same exact offense, he is still throwing the ball, and I mean, you look at the Chargers, 300 yards, at the Panthers, 373 yards, at the Cardinals, 250 yards, at the Bengals, 351 yards. So, and the reason why I did that is somebody was talking about the Vikings play indoors, which bloats up the stats a lot. And in some cases it does, but looking through the schedule this year, that hasn't been the case with Kirk Cousins. I mean, he's been outdoors and he's been slinging it. So, a little food for thought.
Here's my problem with Kirk Cousins. I think statistically he's fine. But the thing that stands out to me about Kirk Cousins, his TD to interception is fantastic. Career-wise, 219 to 90. He's a 66% completion percentage. He's got tons of yards. He's fine. The rub on Cousins is his QB record is pretty mediocre.
Yeah, I agree with that.
58 and 58 and 2. Okay, 58 and 2. So he can do it, but he's not winning games. Whether that falls to him or the rest of the team, that's what it is. Okay. And then you got a guy like Deshaun Watson, who, I mean, his rookie year is 3-3, and the last season he played in 2020, he was 4-12. 4-12 with 33 touchdowns and 7 interceptions. Yeah. It was not on Deshaun Watson why they were 4-12. And then 2018, he's 11-5. 2019, he's 10-5 as a starter. Guys, it is, and he is how old? 26. Cousins is going to be 35. Cousins is going to be 33, or he's going to be 34 next year, and it will be 35 when he is unrestricted free agent. Guys, it is like if Michael Vick, who is murdering dogs for sport with his buddies in Newport News, if he can come back and not only come back play, but get a speaking roles on Fox Sports in front of the games, redemption can come in lots of different ways, guys. And we would be completely irrational to not think that adding Deshaun Watson would not be a brilliant sports move. Would he have to do a lot for personal, the public opinion? Yeah. But guys, he's not the first guy to do it. I can rattle them off. Between Vic, Ben Roethlisberger, Kobe Bryant. I mean, there are guys. It's just, and that's the other thing too. Let's go even further, okay? We're comparing some of these guys, and we're making judgments on them based off of our lives as normal people. These are ultra wealthy, ultra famous, elite shape, and basically they're living in a different status of life that most people will never experience, right? Their thought process, and I'm not saying that it's okay, I'm just saying their thought process, it works differently. And that is something that comes into the equation. I'm not saying that it's like, I'm not saying that it should be forgiven and blah, blah, blah. I'm just saying that it's not the same. Okay? And let's say Deshaun Watson goes out, comes to whatever team he goes to. I was going to say whatever team he comes to, but again, no pun intended. you got to look at it and go, do you care about winning, or do you want Boy Scouts on your team? Because Mike, we talked about this before again. We want to bring up the cheesecake scenario situation.
If it was true, we don't know if it was, but
we don't know
where
any of.
there's
We don't
where there's
know.
smoke, there's fire.
We don't know if Deshaun Watson's true. I lean towards if credible. If there's apparently there were photos, apparently there were she had the receipts. Okay, all right. So it is what it is, and I mean I gotta say it's like, are we so much that we can't that we have to be Puritans when it comes to this stuff? I mean, I think historically in Cleveland, we like our quarterbacks to be clean. We want the Brian Sipe, we want the Bernie Kosar, we want like that type of, even Tim Couch, you could say. Johnny didn't work.
Yeah, I just think with this front office and this coaching staff, I think they really keep it close, to the vest with that whole smart, tough, and accountable. I mean, look at last year, first round. Who do they draft?
Jedrick?
Kid from Northwestern that's got a 4-point whatever grade point average. Second pick, who do they take? The smart kid from Notre Dame. You know what I mean? I don't know if
tough.
I don't know.
I would give him tough.
Yeah, he's a tough kid. I mean, and we had the opportunity to take him years ago, and we passed on him. But
a lot of people did too, right?
Yeah, I just don't know if his game equates to 20-mile-an-hour winds down by the lake. I don't.
That's fair.
I don't know.
It's not. I think if we had a chance to get a Pickett, I think if we're in the Pickett sweepstakes, I think you're looking at not blowing it up and a complete rebuild. I don't think Barry is the type of guy that would blow it up. I think he's more of a type of guy that would strategically replace, right? But if we go and if you see a quarterback within certainly the first 2 rounds and bordering on third round, but first 2 rounds, you see a quarterback coming in, they're being drafted for a reason.
Yeah, I think that. I mean, you're going to see at the end of the year if it's all been, coach and front office speak, or if they truly believe that, the injuries derailed Baker and he was showing progress in year 2. And, even though he's injured, they like what they see on tape, and, he's their guy, and they're going to hitch their wagon to him. Or, to your point just now, you're gonna hear the rumblings, right? Oh, they picked up his 5th-year option. However, it's been, sources have advised that, they like a couple guys in the draft or what have you, and they do go that route, and they grab a rookie. But then at the same time, we were just talking about how deep the wide receiver pool is this year. So if that were the route that they were going to take, it wouldn't be out of the ordinary for them to get a Pickett type and then snag one of the receivers that are still hanging around at the end of the round I mean, the long and the short of it is, I think that you're gonna have to if you want a quarterback, you're gonna have to move up the board. I think this team, if they can get away from the COVID bug and they stop the bleeding with these injuries, I could see them. I can honestly tell you, I could see them finding a way to surprise us and winning Green Bay and win the next 2 and win the division and go on. I could see them losing in Green Bay and winning the next 2, or, winning 2 of the next 3 or whatever, and still be in the, let's say 15 to 24 in the draft order.
Okay.
So it would take.
Let me ask you this then, Mike.
Yep.
Pick 8 comes around. Let's say we're 15. Pick 8's there. Pickett's still available. Pick 9 comes. Pickett's still available.
Well, as you're getting down there, yeah. I mean,
you
could
for
get
you
up there a little easier. Oh, for me,
for you, is it like let's trade, because we're gonna need our second round pick. We need that wide receiver.
I'll be honest with you. I don't see that. I don't see the path exactly the way I was explaining earlier. I think is the way that they're going to wind up going, and probably the way that I would go is Baker's not horrendous. He's not going to lose you games in a sense of
not in this offense,
right? So you can say, you know what? He's a top 20 quarterback in the league, top 15 quarterback in the league. That will do, right? He's going to be healthy. He had a lot of fluke things that happened to him this year, and who's to say that thinking about the shoulder hanging out and the foot and the ankle have, threw off his judgment and him going through his progressions, etc. And, we're going to run it back because we can't start again. We need to keep that in place and go get a receiver, 2 receivers, whatever, whether it be first round in free agency or first round, third round, whatever. I don't think that you can, at this point with the team that they have, I don't think that you can, because you're essentially mortgaging the future then, because you're going to have to, it's going to take you probably next year's one to get up there from wherever you may be down at the bottom. And the other thing that's very, very interesting, and I don't know if you've noticed this, but right now as it stands, and now the Eagles won last night, I think they're 7-7. So now it's going to fall down the line here a little bit, but the Jets right now have 2 picks in the top 10, right? The Giants have 2 picks right now in the top 10. And the Eagles had 2 picks in the first round. And as a couple of weeks ago, they were still in within the top 10, I think it was, but now they're even, so they're down further. But they had 2 number 1 draft picks. And then Carson Wentz just went over the threshold of how many snaps he had to play in Indianapolis for that pick to become a 1 for the Eagles. So essentially, in this first round, out of 32 picks, you got
the NFC East and the Jets.
And the Jets. You've got 2 for the Jets, 2 for the Giants, 3 for the Birds.
What about the Lions?
Yeah.
How many are they gonna have? Because they get the Rams. That's 2, at least 2 for the Rams. I mean, that's not gonna be a top 10. One of them is gonna be a top 10.
One of them is, yeah. So I mean, there are
and these guys. I would again. It comes down to this: are the Lions ready to say give up on Goff and go for a rebuilding quarterback scenario, or are they going to build around? Are they going to deal with Goff for another year and then go and put some talent around and rebuild from like we did with Miles? Like, we didn't take a quarterback the Miles year, right? We could have had Pat Mahomes, but we ended up with Miles, right? So do they do that? Because it sounds to me like I doubt the Eagles are going to move off of Hurts. I doubt.
Yeah, I mean, he's been the thing about Hurts is he's every time you think that, oh man, he may not be the guy, he fixes his mistakes.
Yeah.
And I mean, he threw, I don't know if you saw any of the game last night, but he threw a back shoulder to, it might have been Rager or I think it was Ward in the corner of the end zone. and the ball placement with on the back shoulder, only place where he could catch it. And he struggled a little in the beginning of the game, but man, he was lights out the rest of the way. Like what's kind of interesting, right? And I'm not trying to be, put a knock on Baker or whatnot, but you look at the three Oklahoma quarterbacks, right?
Mm-hmm.
Being Murray, Hurts, and Baker. And wouldn't it be fitting that we found a way to take the lesser of the three? And again,
Yeah.
Hurts wouldn't have never fallen there, and neither would Murray.
We didn't
just
have
off
we
year.
we didn't have a chance.
We didn't have the opportunity. But I just find it funny that all three of them are and Kyler Murray and Jalen Hurts games are very similar. Hurts is just is faster and more. I mean, he's elusive, I guess would be the word that I'm looking for. I mean,
Kyler Murray.
I feel Hurts is more elusive than Murray.
Really?
I feel that way watching the two of them play. But Murray obviously is much more accurate passer. But Hurts is not that inconsistent. So I think, yeah, I mean, to your point in terms of the draft board, yeah, I don't think the Eagles are going to move off Jalen Hurts. And if they did, I personally believe that would be silly, and there'll be some teams out there that'll be definitely knocking on the door. But yeah, I mean, some of these teams, if they get it right, and like if you look at the Giants, they have 2 picks. Gettleman's going to be gone, and I believe Joe Judge will be out of there too. I mean, it's just one worse than the other.
And then if with the Giants, then if those guys are gone, then Daniel Jones isn't safe.
I would agree with that, and I think Daniel Jones could be solid. But to your point, I mean, all bets are off. Once the new regime comes in, as we know.
I mean, I'll tell you this: if Daniel Jones, if they move off of Daniel Jones, and they said that's it, and they cut him, and he's able to go wherever he wants to go, from a bring in a guy to compete perspective, bring him in.
Yeah, most certainly.
Bring him in, dude.
We've been talking about this for weeks. That would be, and we haven't been able to find the right scenario. Right, we keep landing on getting your golden boy,
yeah,
or Kirk Cousins. We always go back to, but I mean, you just laid out a scenario perfect, right? Where let's say, someone like the Giants decides they want to move off of Daniel Jones and they go out and draft somebody, and that would be a great guy to bring in for competition, or even a Jalen Hurts.
I mean, I think like you're right, man. Jalen Hurts ain't going anywhere. He's secure. That would be criminal for them to move off of him.
I agree.
At this point. But in the reality is, let's just really quick, let's do an exercise.
As you start that exercise, I just got to say this real quick. You're going to laugh.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not really funny. Don't get me wrong. But last night when I was watching the game, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I was really invested because I was down by 17 in our league, and I had Hurts. And at the last second, I had OBJ in, and I swapped him for Gibson, who wound up having 19, and OBJ had 1. But it turned out that Hurts had such a game that I could have left that spot blank, and I would have won by 8 points. But anyway, regardless, I was really, focused on that game. And every time they went to Sirianni, this poor guy was wiping his nose, like his nose was running all freaking night. He kept every time they show him, he's wiping his nose. And then across my phone this morning came across that Nick Sirianni tested positive for COVID. And I thought, and they said that he self-reported his symptoms. And I thought, I saw the symptoms. I was watching them all night. His nose
literally
was running. I kept seeing him rubbing his nose. And so then, selfish me is like, oh, this is just great. Like, how close was he to Hurts? Did he touch Hurts with that snot finger? And now I'm not going to be able to start him in the fantasy.
I mean,
game.
Man, I've dealt with COVID twice in my home, once with my wife, and then once with my son. I don't have an answer. Because if it is as scary and contagious and everything as possible, everybody in my house would have got it. Or my wife would have got it twice because she had it, and then my son got it a month later.
Yeah.
So there's
You
just like
had
there's
it, you
no
don't
rhyme or
know.
reason. There's no rhyme.
No,
I
yeah,
might
no, there's
I
no
might
rhyme
have
or
had it
reason.
too, right?
Hey, Ellis in the house.
Who knows? Alice, what's going on, man? So let's do this exercise really quick. Let's go down through the league and think about these scenarios. AFC East, Patriots, they're good on Mac Jones. They ain't doing anything. Bills, same way. Dolphins with Tua.
He's really coming on.
Yeah, I mean, I think he is. I think they're leaning towards. I mean, he's like in the same situation like a Baker, where they're like, hey, he's doing okay. We're gonna hold on and see how it goes, right? But firm, like they're not giving him a 10-year deal yet.
No.
The Jets with Zach Wilson. I don't think you can move off of Zach Wilson.
No, not
in
this
1
quick.
year.
No, they're going to have to, and they're not going anywhere. Salah and I can't remember who the GM is, but yeah, that's their guy. They're married to him, and
yeah, they have to develop him at this point and put weapons around him to be successful. And you know what? They won 3 games this year. One of them, I don't think he won, but like the Jets could have easily been a team that didn't win any games. They're bad.
Yeah. And if you look at the Jets, I mean, they've got, if you look at it from an offensive side, I mean, they have some pieces. So 2 picks in the first round, if hit on, could be big for them, because if you think about it, they've got Becton at left tackle. So you got that piece. If you're the Jets, you believe you got the quarterback, right? In why can't I think of his name? Zach, what's his last name? Wilson. Elijah Moore is a stud. He's shown us that this year. And then Michael Carter has been great in the backfield. So they have some pieces on offense that, I mean, they could rebuild with those 2 picks and the rest of that draft to where they could be competitive in a year or two. No doubt.
Yeah. Yeah. So they're not going to move off of Zach Wilson yet, right?
Yeah.
Then you have the Chiefs, the Chargers, the Raiders are all good at quarterback. The Broncos are an interesting spot. Let me throw a scenario at you here because this opens up a scenario. Dun, dun, dun.
Oh, boy. Here we go.
Teddy Bridgewater is alive and healthy. He's fine. Let's say he recovers from the brain injury or spine injury he had. But they're like, you know what? We're going to go quarterback. Okay.
And I think they will. I think they will. I think they're going to move off of Locke and Bridgewater.
Got it. Right. And I think they've obviously moved off a Locke at this point. Like Locke he's on there for whatever reason, right? But Locke is out. Unless Locke lights it up and leads them to a playoff and maybe even wins a playoff game or 2. Oh my God. Like that's a whole nother scenario. But I think Teddy is probably out.
Yep.
Right. So Teddy's available. Let's put him on the list. Do we have a situation where we would bring in a Teddy and let him compete? And let me throw this out there. We bring in a Teddy and let him compete. There's a chance Teddy wins that job.
Then I think we got even bigger fish to fry then at that point, because now we're really in trouble, because now you didn't draft somebody because you brought Bridgewater in to compete, and now he found a way to beat out Baker, which means Baker's not the guy. Mm-hmm. And now you're stuck with Teddy, who we know is just serviceable.
Yeah.
And now you better hope that
there's some studs. There's not a real ceiling there. Or there's not there's like, we know what the ceiling is with Teddy. Bengals, obviously they're fine. Ravens, you got Hundley, who I gotta tell you, like, I don't love the kid. I don't think he's Deshaun Watson, but the kid's got heart, and he's mini Lamar, man. He really is. He's not as fast, but I think he's got a better arm. And I think if you develop that level of talent, you know who he could be like. I'm trying to think of like a guy who's just like okay, but like could really develop into something. Whoever it is, it's on the tip of my tongue, and I can't remember. But I think
I think,
I think Huntley's okay.
yeah, I mean, I think they definitely, Baltimore's holding on to him, and he's not going anywhere because what we've seen in the past couple of weeks, and like we said earlier,
Yeah,
things can certainly change once teams start getting film on guys, and it's sort of what we've seen happen to Baker. But at the same time, if you look at it after a couple of games, I mean, this is another case where, the Ravens stepped in another pile because,
yeah,
I mean, you literally, if you look at their numbers, and again, it's only a couple of games, obviously, but if you look at Lamar and Huntley's numbers, I mean, they're in terms of averages, rushing and passing. I mean, they're almost equal. So you almost found a way to find a plug and play, right? Lamar could go down. Let's say Lamar's the guy, which he is, but he goes down. And from what we've seen, from the past couple of games, and that's the only thing we have to go on,
yeah.
you literally could take Huntley, grab him, put him in, and you're not losing anything.
You're fine.
And then on the flip side, if all of a sudden, like, Lamar's out for a little while longer and Huntley is just lighting the world on fire, and they're like, you know what, we get it, but we're on an X amount of win streak. Lamar, we're going to go with Huntley right now. Then vice versa, it's the same thing. Then you just, you get hurt, you're in. It's a perfect world right now for those guys in terms of being able to. I mean, they literally have two dynamic quarterbacks,
Yeah.
and I mean, we just want one.
Yeah, it's because the before they had RG3 that was backing them up, and then who was the other guy? Trace McSorley.
Oh, yeah, I think it was Trace, right, from Penn State.
Yeah, I always think he's Marty McSorley. He's sure
Biff was
he's
the center.
yeah. I mean, who knows? I mean, the Ravens could probably put Marty McSorley in there, and he would just light
They
it up.
probably could
He'd
put him
throw
right
for
on that hoverboard. Forget about it.
he'd throw for 200 yards and and rush for 150.
Yeah.
Titans are good, probably with Tannehill. I think they're. I mean, he's done nothing but been consistently okay for them. Colts, Texans, and Jags. I think Colts fine. Jags, they're not moving off of Trevor, and Texans. They're the Texans have to get a quarterback.
Yeah.
Another thing too in the AFC West to think about is is Mariota, is he a guy? Is he kind of in a similar boat to Teddy Bridgewater? And it's like if we brought in a guy like that to compete and he won the job, are we like completely like just effed? Okay.
Yeah, I would say that you found a way to grab somebody else that's the same caliber as Teddy, almost same amount of years.
Yeah.
That if you brought in for competition and they won that gig, you just opened the big can.
Cowboys, Eagles. Is Washington married to Heineke?
I don't know. I would say
or
that
Minshew again. Minshew's another guy.
Yeah, he's on the.
I think Minshew's an interesting guy. I think he's almost perfect to come in and compete with Baker because he's like a Daniel Jones. Like we seen peak Minshew?
I don't know. I don't think the Eagles let him go. I think they like him as the 2.
Everyone's got a price though.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what kind of deal. Let me take a peek at what kind of deal Gardner Minshew has.
Take a look. I'm plugging it in as well. He is on. He's signed through 2022. Under $1 million. No dead cap. Nothing. He could be cut. He could be traded. He basically has as much value as like a guy competing to be the punter.
So, what's wild is
Under $1 million. He's never even had $1 million. His signing bonus in 2019 is like a signing bonus that you give to like a high end tech salesman. It was $47,000. I mean, you could with that after you pay taxes and you pay your agent, you could afford like not the highest end Corolla, but like a really well equipped Corolla. And that's what Gardner Minshew got. What is his signing bonus with Jacksonville?
his stats weren't bad either.
No, he was fine. He's got 2.5 years experience going into his third. His rookie year was 2019, so he's a year younger than Baker, year younger than Baker. And I don't think we've seen the bet. I think Minshew is a guy who's going to be like Fitzpatrick. No, he's just never going to find a team that really believes in him enough to make a commitment to him long term. I just don't see it. But if he comes in, he's a guy like a Daniel Jones or even like a Heineke who you bring. I think Heineke in this offense would be amazing because he's athletic, he's elusive, athletic. He's got a decent arm. Again, I'm not saying that it would be a massive upgrade over Baker. I'm just saying I think we've seen something close to Baker's ceiling. It may not be the absolute ceiling. I think we've seen something close enough to it, so we know what we got there. Cardinals with who's the backup quarterback in Arizona?
Colt McCoy.
That ain't happening.
He won a couple of games when Murray was out.
Yeah, Colt McCoy. I mean, he's like a perfect backup quarterback in the NFL. He doesn't make dumb decisions, and he's like a younger Case Keenum, without ever truly having a team that actually gave him a shot like the Vikings and the Broncos did.
Yeah.
Steelers, nobody I care about.
That could be a landing place for your buddy.
For Goff?
No, Watson.
Yeah, that would be actually pretty good. I mean, they would take him.
Oh yeah.
Cowboys, Eagles, talked about it. Cardinals, Rams, 49ers, Garoppolo. What do you think about? I think
they just took what's his name. So the kid.
That's what I'm saying. Like, do they move off of Garoppolo and make him a free agent or deal him to go with Trey Lance?
I think it depends on
you have to at some point
on how much money he's owed next year, because it seems to me that Shanahan is really content on, like, it doesn't matter. Like, and we saw it this year. Like, he's the kind of guy where, oh, you know what? Trey Lance is starting this week. Okay. All right. Next week, Garoppolo's starting. Like, I've never seen it before. Like, he literally has no problem with just going with a hot hand and going with it. And it's actually worked for them. I know Lance has been hurt for a little while, but yeah, I mean
they're 8-6.
But the one thing that I could tell you is you're going through that list and you tell me if you agree.
Mm-hmm.
There's not many teams that are very, very quarterback needy. I would say the Broncos, possibly the Giants, and the Steelers will probably be in the market. I don't know if they'll draft one or they'll try and lure one there in free agency. Like, I could totally see the nightmare scenario where Aaron Rodgers went there. So I mean, you could count on one hand, essentially, how many teams have to have a quarterback, I guess you could say.
I think with the Giants too, like the Giants, Daniel Jones rookie year, he's 24 touchdowns, 12 interceptions. Then he came back the next year, 11 TDs, 10 interceptions. And this year he's 10-7. I mean, his QB record's pretty poor, so he's not elevating the Giants,
And
right?
he should be going on year 4 if I'm not mistaken, right? Because he was a year behind Baker.
He is, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, they may give up on him, or this is the prove it year for him. And I can tell you, a lot of people I know the Mannings are very high on him. Some people think that he's got some real talent, and it's just Gettleman and the way that they've drafted, and then that coach that they brought in that's just dreadful. So they quite possibly could stick with him for another year and draft best available or need. But yeah, I mean, there's not that many that you look at and you go, they really need a quarterback.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, because then you keep going. The Packers, if they go to the Super Bowl, or God forbid win the Super Bowl, best team in the NFL right now, undeniable, best record in the NFL, with Aaron Rodgers, who's again 100 years old. Do they then say, okay, let's try to make it work one more time? I think that's going to be in the discussion, right?
Yeah.
Or he pulls a Tom Brady and says, you know what, put me in Miami, or put me in, wherever, and he goes off and he picks his destination, and he says, if I go there, I get to make the decisions, right? So Packers, but they have a quarterback that's waiting, right? So they're not going to draft one.
No.
Unless they think Love is just an abomination. Vikings, they got another year of Kirk, and I'd be surprised, honestly. I would be surprised if they didn't try to make another deal with him. The Bears have Fields, the Lions have Goff, and the Lions are probably in a position.
Yeah, they could be if they like somebody.
Yeah, because it just depends on what the hype train looks like come draft season. If they get sucked into it.
Yeah.
But
I could there's going to be those. Okay, I'm sorry.
No, I was there's going to be somebody who's going to come out and he's going to be the Zach Wilson of the draft, that everybody's like, oh, he's the guy because he had a great pro day. Look at him roll out and throw.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say. Is that, to your point, that there's going to be one or two, like you said, like a Zach Wilson or a Josh Allen or a Carson Wentz that come from Appalachian State, that they're just this guy has got the tools. And
yeah, there's gonna and you know what, those guys always work out. It's weird, but they do.
Yeah.
Buccaneers, they got Tom. The Saints are in an interesting spot because
I think they like Taysom Hill.
They might. I mean, he's winning games.
Yeah, and they gave him that deal, didn't they? Didn't they just give him a lot of money?
They did.
Yeah. So that's going to be the guy.
So you think they're going to move off of Winston, or Winston's going to still be there, and he's going to and Hill's going to be the H-back / whatever.
I think Hill's probably going to take over next year.
So then Jameis is available?
No, I think he's still under contract. I think it's a back and forth kind of thing.
Matt Ryan with the Falcons.
They could move off him, but I mean, I don't. You know what? I don't know if they move off him, because they just got out. They just went out and they got Pitts. Hopefully Ridley is right, and he's back. I will say that was my first receiver and I've been handicapped without him. But I get it.
And Matt Ryan signed through 2023.
Yeah, so he's not going anywhere.
He ain't going anywhere. And then the Panthers, who definitely need a quarterback, right? So,
yep.
And the Panthers are going to be in play. They will be drafting a quarterback, 100%.
Unless Matt Rule is still in love with Darnold.
I don't think. I just don't see how they could make that decision.
I don't either.
Right.
But stranger things have happened.
Yeah, and I mean, the bottom line with Darnold was that, this was his opportunity at redemption. He got off to a red hot start. Everybody was like, damn, maybe it was the Jets. Maybe the Browns should have taken him. I mean, there was all that stuff. And then he became Sam Darnold again really quick, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So I think that the Panthers are going to be in a position with one of they're definitely going to have a top 10 pick, without a doubt, top 10. and they are they'll be drafting QB. Unless you have like a Myles Garrett level talent that happens to drop to them, but that is not going to happen when you have a need. Okay.
Yeah.
So, but man, that's just an interesting exercise because you were right. There's not an epidemic of talentless teams at the quarterback position.
No. Yeah.
You could argue only about 2 teams per conference are in desperate need to fix the quarterback position.
Yeah. And you take someone like the Eagles. I mean, they're in great shape I mean, I would imagine the chances of them drafting 3 times in the first round is probably slim to none. They'll probably, I know they'll at least take the 2 picks, but
Yeah,
I think that they're going to. I mean, that's a perfect way to really be able to build for the future, to trade that other first and just get a lot of capital.
right. So, I mean, there's gonna be teams that are gonna be wheeling and dealing, right? Now, the other thing too is I think you and I are in agreement on Baker, though, right? We are in agreement there that Baker has not done anything this year, in my personal opinion, that would warrant us to be like, we are absolutely in the same situation as like the Texans.
Yeah.
Where it's like, we have to move because that's it. Baker could come back next year and be very adequate, if not above adequate. And if you look at it, like, we have an opportunity this year or next year, I'm saying, that we could go and put the tools and the type of talent around him. Because have we, other than Jarvis, and then, with OBJ, who's been he was injured half the damn time he was here.
I would agree with that.
So we didn't get peak OB. We didn't get Miami Dolphins Jarvis, and we didn't get New York Giants OBJ. Okay,
yep. 2 games maybe.
We had Donovan Peoples-Jones, who's like a 5th round draft pick. Austin Schwartz, who's a 3rd round draft pick. We haven't had, I think the biggest crime of the whole thing was the fact that DK Metcalf was there.
Yeah.
What, second cousin or something of Eric Metcalf, and we didn't take a flyer on that guy, but we did for Austin Schwartz.
Right.
It's like, come on, guys, like, wake up. We didn't draft Clay Matthews when we had a chance. Turned out pretty darn well for the Packers. It's like, at some point, like, look at your history and go, you know what, this makes sense. It's a little fanfare, but if it works out, great. Nobody's gonna crap on you for drafting a guy like DK Metcalf in the 2nd round.
Yeah, I mean, look at Denzel. For years and years and years, the Browns just didn't draft guys from Ohio State, right? All of a sudden, they draft somebody from Ohio State, and wow, what do you know? You got a shutdown corner.
Yeah.
Go take a chance on and I was just using the local aspect of that as, the alternate to the, hey, it's Metcalf's, nephew,
whatever there's some relationship.
There's some relationship.
Absolutely a family relationship. It's never been like truly clear to me what it is.
Yeah. I mean, I still believe that if I were a betting man, I said it earlier, Baker's coming back. You're going to go get him a 1st round draft pick wide receiver, one of those guys that's just going to come in and produce right out of the gate. And you are probably going to find a way to keep Jarvis on a restructured deal to be the mentor. And I mean, let's face it. I mean, and there's some people that are like, oh, Jarvis is no good. He should go away or whatever. Yeah. At this point in Jarvis's career, Jarvis could be the possession receiver, right? Throw him in the slot. He's your possession guy. Keep developing DPJ, because he will be a solid receiver. I don't think he will ever be like a legit one, like some of the guys that we named earlier that are in the league right now. And I mean, if you run it back and you got Chubb and Hunt, you got the offensive line intact.
Conklin, we don't let go of D'Ernest either.
Yeah, and you keep D'Ernest, and you just from like a core aspect, You're not getting Conklin back for a while, if at all. James Hudson really played solid that one game. So you go take a look at
He was
that.
drafted high.
He was drafted high. And, so you got the backs. Hooper's still there. I think they're going to re-sign the Njoku. Bryant's under his rookie deal. So you're going to walk back the tight ends again. And then you've got, let's say, we'll just go out on a limb, and just because you had mentioned his name earlier, you've got a Chris Olave out there now as your legit one. You got DPJ as your 2, and you've got Jarvis as your slot guy in the 3. And I mean, if you can't produce with that, then I don't know what to tell you. And another interesting thing, and you let me know your thoughts on it. And I know we're probably not going to get to the PFF tonight, and that's fine. But your highest rated offensive player this week with a 91.5 was Joel Bitonio playing left tackle. And I mean, it's not like he had a slouch out there. He had Max Crosby, and he did an absolute fantastic job. So then I say to you, Mike,
I love where this is going.
what if next year you run it back and you say, and might I add, Michael
You're moving
Dunn,
Jed over to the right side.
Yes, Michael Dunn had a great score the other night. He played well, and rightfully so. I mean, they ran to the left side 10 times, 60 some yards, and that was Dunn and Bitonio over there. So what if at this stage you throw Bitonio out there? You put Jed on the right side, which he's actually that was his position because Tua was left-handed, and that was, Jed played the right side to protect his blind side, and it was he had to learn how to play left tackle. What if you throw him back over on the right side, and now you've got, Bitonio, Dunn, Shredder, Teller, and Wilzo out there. Now you don't even have to worry about, whether Hudson is going to be that guy or not. But I mean, and they may keep it that way, Bitonio at guard like it normally is, and Hudson is the guy. But I think this opens the door to have the conversation to say, hey, if need be, and we're not getting Conklin back, maybe we go into camp this way, and we see what the offensive line looks that way. Because I mean, that's a damn good offensive line.
Yeah, I think theoretically it sounds probably much better than it probably would end up being. I think you're taking a guy like Bitonio, and again, it's like it's the book type thing. Like they're gonna find it's easier to find a weakness with the left tackle than it is to find with the left guard, right? You're not
for sure.
You're not scheming around a left guard, but you are scheming around a left tackle, and I think Bitonio did a fantastic. Bitonio's, I mean, the fact that we had Bitonio and Joe Thomas at one point and we didn't dominate is
criminal.
It's and who else do we have? We had Alex Mack at center. Like,
oh yeah,
what the hell, dude?
Yeah. And we were drafting Trent Richardson's of the world.
Yeah, it's just the level of incompetence. And
yeah.
But I would tell you this: if we had to, I don't hate it, but I think the smarter heads would probably be able to figure out a way to exploit it. I love when with Bitonio, Shredder, and Teller in the middle, and then I do feel like the tackle positions, especially now with when Conk's in there, I'm fine. But when Jed's been hit or miss, and he's been injured, and we talked about this I think last week. Like, we're not seeing Pro Bowl level guy out of our draft pick out of Jed at this point yet.
And you know what the funny thing is? I believe he is an alternate.
Is he really?
Yes, I'm almost 99% sure.
Like, based on what?
Yeah.
Popularity?
I don't know. I'm pretty sure, and I could look it up.
Did Baker progressive commercial him into the Pro Bowl?
Coulda.
How many other offensive linemen are in national commercials?
Yeah.
I don't know any of them.
No.
He's a supporting cast in one commercial. But yeah, that's interesting.
The Browns have 4 Pro Bowl alternates.
Who are they?
They are Clowney, Janovich, Treader, and Wills.
And there's a good chance those guys go because the Pro Bowl is one of those things. Like if Wills or Treader was actually elevated from the alternate list, they'd go. They'd play in the game.
Yeah.
You know? How funny would it be if we had 4 offensive linemen starting for the AFC Pro Bowl team? And and honestly, could have had a 5th if Conklin would have been, if Conklin's healthy the whole year, our whole starting offensive line would be Pro Bowlers.
Yeah, absolutely. Crazy.
And it literally is crazy. And that would even bring on more that Baker haters. Like Baker can't do it. Baker. Right. Anyway, we're up to the 2-hour mark, which is over 9:30, and duty calls.
It's true
in a lot of ways. So, yeah, Mike, thank you as always for being, my partner in crime here on the Wednesday show.
Yeah, man.
Thank you everybody in chat. Thank you guys very, very much for, hanging out with us and, keeping the conversation alive as me and Mike, do our thing. And I will tell you this, we will be back Christmas. I don't know what time we play. Is it 4:15?
4:15, 4:30, I think. Let me. Probably find it quicker than me. 4:30. I thought for sure you'd beat me to it.
I was on it, and I could have hit. I was trying to hit the back button. I accidentally moved my Google search into my. I don't know what I did. We are 4:30, so you figure we'll probably go live around 3 ish. So I'll be a few nogs deep at that point. And
yeah, I'll be on remote location.
Where are you gonna be?
I'm gonna be over at my parents.
Okay, so you're going to where are they? Delaware?
Yeah, they're probably like 15, 20 minutes away.
So Studio B in Delaware.
Studio B. I'll bring my lighting.
Bring in the light. I got to get my lighting to work.
I'll bring the lighting. I'll bring my green screen. I won't be able to bring the mic, but I'll have my. I can't imagine my earbuds would be horrible. So
no, they're okay. They're okay. The interesting thing with when my dad was coming over here for the games, because I bought him a Yeti, right? I bought him a Yeti for his house. And then when he's coming over here, we didn't have an extra mic, or I was borrowing it for my son, and that's a pain in the butt. So I got him one of those blue snowballs, and that's the one I take on the road with me. I think the blue snowball sounds freaking amazing.
Yeah, you know what? The road one does. What is it? A big thing or?
No, it's just it's about the size. It's about the size of a softball.
Yeah.
Right. And the only problem, it doesn't have mute features on it or anything like that, and the level of compression doesn't have as much range to it. But
yeah,
for a little compact, road mic that I can just toss in my, I think it's great, and it allows me to balance everything. So
I would take this, but then I fear that once I unplug it from my iMac, then trying to plug it back in.
You got to reset everything.
Then I got to reset everything. I'm like, I just the thought of it was like, yeah.
No, you need a little 30. Like you got to wait for the blue snowball to go on sale for like $30.
I'll have to look that up
on Amazon. And then
the blue snowball.
Because you have a Yeti, right?
Yes, I had the blue Yeti.
Okay, so the Yeti is like the next tier up, right? The snowball is the one, and it's typically about $50, $49.99. But every once in a while, it goes on sale for like $30, $35. And you just snag it, no matter what color it is. I think it comes in like white or black. Just grab it, whatever it is.
$39.99.
Oh, it's $39.99 right now?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's pretty close to like typically as low as it goes.
$34.95.
DBO says it's like $30 on Amazon.
Yeah, that's where I'm looking at it now.
Ryan Burlow wants a hype vid. Guys, I can't make hype vids for 7 and 7 teams. But I can't do it.
It's that, right?
That's it. Yep. That's the white one. I got the black one, but
I could get it Friday, December 24th. Yeah, they had the black one, but the white one looks kind of slick.
I mean, I'd pull the trigger if I were you, man. I'll tell you what, Mike. If you buy that, I will reimburse you for it. I swear to God, I will. We just got paid from. I just got my my YouTube check. Wasn't a lot of money, but it was more than $40. I will reimburse you if you buy that. So go buy it.
What if it doesn't get here in time?
And then you'll have it for next one. We have 3 games left. You know, if you it just gives you a little bit of, you know, it gives you a little bit of versatility if you have to, you know.
That's very true.
You know,
not to say that I'm going to be anywhere else. However, if I am,
then you've got the blue snowball.
Then I got the blue snow, and I do like the white one.
Yeah, pick it up.
The white one's nice.
I happen to know what my Christmas present is, by the way, because it was purchased from Amazon, and I get the Amazon updates on my phone. Which, I mean, it sucks, but I mean, here we are. We're adults.
Yeah.
And you know, it's at this point, if there's anything that you want that you're not buying for yourself as an adult, and you have to ask, you know, Santa for it, then you know.
I get yelled at, Mike, because it's you buy everything you want. I don't even know what to get you.
My wife does the same thing, and I'm like, I'm the easiest guy to shop for. I feel like I'm easy.
That's what I would think, but I mean, I guess. I mean, I own every piece of Brown's clothing, hat, or whatnot out there, so I could see how that would be very difficult for. So I'll leave you with this. They had Mike that you met at the tailgate. Mm-hmm. He messaged me earlier, and it was the on-field polo, and not the one with that has the like I have the one that Stefanski always wore, but it's like that almost that really dry fit material that kind of
yeah. I know,
and I like it, but it sometimes it drives me crazy. But this one is like the on-field one. OBJ, you always saw he wore it, had like a little stripe across the. Anyway, regardless, it's a $75 shirt, and it was on sale for $20. But they only had a size small left, and that's what I wear. So he sent it to me, and he was like, "FYI," and I thought, man, I got a couple of these though, but I mean, I could wear them to meetings or whatnot. And me and Laura were working out, and she just happened to be next to me, and I had mentioned it to her, and she was like, "Oh, well, I could get that for you." So I could go on a tangent on a whole nother holiday that we celebrate as Italians, which is La Befana Day. I don't know if you ever heard of that.
I've not.
I don't know if there's any fellow Italians in the chat that know what La Befana Day is, but I'm not going to tell you what it is. You could Google it to see what La Befana Day is. But anyway, it's January 6th. So we always exchange presents on La Befana Day. But so I looked at her and said,
"This is Kendall, by the way. Kendall, wave to Brownie post game." Hold on, Mike. Sorry to interrupt. What do you need?
No, go ahead.
Your what? Your forehead is hurting? Okay. Did you tell mommy?
No, I can't find her.
You can't find her? Did you tell Maxwell? Okay. Go tell Maxwell he has to go find mommy, okay? I'll be done in a couple of minutes. Sorry. Her forehead hurts.
Aw.
So what is it called again?
La Befana.
La Befana.
So I said I bought it because at first I was like, I don't know, and she had said, "Oh, I can get it for La Befana Day." I'm like, no, because who wants a present that they already know, right? That wouldn't be fun if I was like, "Yeah, go ahead, you buy the $20 polo and then give it to me for the house." Nah, you know what I mean? That's like a Larry David episode. I don't like it.
Yeah.
So I said, I was like, screw it. So I bought it. So we were talking about something like, "Oh, by the way, I bought the polo." And she's like, "See, I can't find anything for you. You just keep buying stuff for yourself." I'm like, "I know. I am an addict when it comes to that stuff, but
I haven't been looking at the Brown stuff lately, and then I just saw this orange and brown Nike crew neck performance sweater with the elf on the front and the Nike on the sleeve, the long sleeve. And it's $70, but the only size, and I usually wear a large, the only size that is unavailable is large. And I'm like, it's
that's when you squeeze into the medium and you just deal with it.
Well, I do have a Peloton coming, so I might be able to squeeze.
I will say this though, they do run a little bit big.
Well, they have another one too. This is Browns football with the old looking, 1972 looking helmet.
Is that the one I have that I wore on the show the other day?
I'll send you the
Because I
link.
have that one and I have the one with the elf on the chest.
I'll send you the link right now. You tell me if this is
Okay.
it. I'm gonna text it to you.
Okay, let me look.
That's the one. But anyway, going back to what I was saying, I am getting an upgraded mic. So my wife has pulled the trigger and I'm getting a Shure, like that the nice Shure mic, and I got it to go along with the Go XLR, which has given me nothing but problems ever since I've had it. So
Yep, that's the shirt.
yeah, it's nice. I like it.
Yeah, I wore that's been a Wednesday night special.
Yeah, I like that shirt. I don't know why I haven't noticed that before, but so new mics coming. Some new stuff. We're slowly, when something new comes out, I usually grab it. But for you, for like Brown stuff, I'm for like technology and ways that I can upgrade, the computer and stuff like that. So yeah, so I don't know. We shall see.
Sweet.
We'll see where it goes. Anyway, I got to go deal with a hurting forehead amongst other things. So I think it's a good place to leave it. Mike, I'll give you the final word.
Yeah. It's next time we talk, it'll be Christmas Day.
Yeah.
And hopefully
next time we talk to all of you, Mike and I will be talking.
Yeah, we'll be talking like 5 minutes. But the next time we're out here in the airwaves and we're talking to everybody, it'll be Christmas, and I hope Santa treats you all well, that everybody that does celebrate Christmas and whatever you do celebrate, I hope you have a great holiday. And hopefully we'll see some Browns that are coming off the COVID list, and hopefully maybe we can get a little Christmas miracle and have Clowney test negative, because we're definitely going to need him on the other side of Miles if Miles is healthy enough to go. And maybe we'll get a little Christmas miracle in Green Bay, and all bets are off then at down the home stretch. So is it impossible? No. Is it going to be a very, very tough uphill climb? Absolutely. But as we know, stranger things have happened. I mean, the Ravens almost beat them last week, so we'll see.
Yeah. I mean, the Lions beat the Cardinals. The Saints beat the Buccaneers in Tampa. I mean, stranger things have happened any given Sunday.
Yeah.
So you're right, Mike. Thank you guys. Cleveland BCI, Tim, Ryan Burlow, Mike R.
Who's that?
Who is that?
Who's that guy?
Everybody out there. Wolfstan, I see you out there too, man. Guys, have a very happy and really nice holiday season with your friends and your family. And, just the only thing I ask is just be safe and make good decisions, because typically with the next couple weeks are a very dangerous time to be on the road in terms of Christmas Eve, New Year's, even New Year's morning. Like, guys, just be very, very careful out there and make good decisions. Be smart. And we'll see you guys on Christmas Day for Browns football.
Ho, ho, ho.
Oh, go Browns.
Go Brownies.